Today's video comes from a subscriber that is right on. It's a common question, and the question essentially is following this short statement: Jeff, I totally hear you about eating this, that, and the other. I get behind it the best I can when I'm not out in the field. But what about I'm out in the field? Maybe I'm only able to eat MREs. Maybe it's a mixture of galley food and mermites with MREs, whatever it is. And I think that that's a super reasonable question, and it's actually a very, very simple, direct answer. You're in the military, and what those field operations are simulating is what I and many people experience in actual combat. Is like, I don't have my really nice grocery store in Afghanistan, and quite frankly in Iraq as well. Like, for better part of a year, some SEAL teams, Special Forces units, Green Berets, Delta, when they were tracking down bin Laden, what do you think they were eating? MREs. And so they were hiking all over those mountains in Afghanistan trying to track that man down, eating MREs. SEAL teams, when I first came into the SEAL teams, the stories I always got was like, they were, in Humvee convoys out in the desert from city to city before there was like established military bases. And they were eating MREs, or they were going into markets and stealing, borrowing, we could call it, food from local markets and taking goats, butchering the goats and making a fire, eating goat. So the answer is that it's more of a mindset situation of going like, hey, I know I'm going to go out in the field, and I know I'm not going to be able to take all my creature comforts, including food, with me. It's your opportunity to balance that with being the best soldier, Marine, whatever you can be, with the food that's given, and assess, see how that makes you feel. Is it probably not going to be a high performer? But the food is going to be enough for you to be a good soldier. And maybe you can supplement that a little bit with maybe some protein powders or some dried fruit, dried nuts, things that can bolster some of those nutrients. The answer is that when you get out of the field, right, day, week, month, whatever it might be, that's the time to get those foods, those high quality foods, the high quality water. You're back in your environment. And the faster you get back to the way that you feel good through eating, sleeping, hydration, the quicker you're going to rebound and get back to your workouts and things like that. Because that's the other question. Like, I'm out in the field. Like, what program am I supposed to be doing? You're not. When you're out in the field, you're supposed to be being the best operator, soldier, Marine that you can be, given the context. And workouts should not be a priority. Workouts, quite frankly, should be almost in some degrees completely off the table, right? Maybe you do some pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups, maybe you do some, but the reality is that if the food is not there to support additional workload, right? I'm doing all the military stuff, whatever that might be. And then on top of it, you're going to try to do all this PT, because the reality is that isn't happening in combat. It's never did. No one is like, all right, guys, we've been out for 2 weeks. Like, get your gear, put it aside. We're going to do a 2-hour monster mash because that's what we do. Like, even the Marines didn't shave for a hot minute. Like, and that's like, what? Yeah, like we did a 9-day Overwatch in Iraq. It was a Marine fob. We did a bunch of snipers, SEAL snipers. We did an Overwatch to set up a forward observation base, a fob, for the Marine Corps. We helped them out. And when we went into like about 3 to 4 days in, we come out of my sniper hide. I'd go into basically I took over school. And we're building up HESCO barriers, and we had to have the buildings all around the school with sniper hides. And when I went into after about 3.5, 4 days, as snipers, we got a bit of a break and we got rotated out with their own guys, and then went back for, a couple hours later. So go get some food, this, that, and we were able to go get some MREs and things like that to replenish our stuff to go back to the hide. Well, even the Marines were shaggy. I was like, I had never seen a Marine with a 5 o'clock shadow. It was like, whoa, what is going on? I was like, it took me a minute, even in war. It was so strange. So, but the point is when they got that 9 days later, when that fob was up and running, we went back in to bring our Humvees in and get back to our fob after 9 days. The Marines were shaving. So Sometimes you just have to be a soldier first, right? Sometimes. So that includes not eating ideally when you're out in the field. That includes not eating ideally when you're out in the field. That also includes not working out when it's not necessary. Because when you are simulating war, you're actively in war, that takes a tremendous amount of energy and effort. So when you get back home, I like to say, when you get back from the field or deployment, you treat yourself like you are and have been sick. You get back to the cleanest water that you can drink. You get back to the healthiest foods that you can financially handle. You get back to being social, do things, go get in the ocean, whatever it might be. But we just need to focus on what you are first. And when you're able to balance those two things, what you end up doing is you find an op tempo that's really, really good for both. And the more senior you get, and also the more you work up into the tiers, the more available assets you have. So you might be out for 2 days, 3 days into a field. But if you're at a tier 1 unit when you come back, you have all those creature comforts and more to get you back to do what? Get you refueled, replenished, rehydrated, because it's very likely one of those missions is gonna pop again soon and you're gonna be back doing the same thing. So if you've created a habit and a routine of getting yourself back and ready and healthy as quick as possible, that's the op tempo. That's the tempo that you want to have. That is what real soldiering is. It's not like, well, the manual says I need to be doing day 7 and I'm out in the field. No, you're not. You put a pin in it. You go out in the field, you come back. I always tell guys, if you've been out in the field for a week, give yourself a couple days before you get back to the program. Like, what does that mean? Like, maybe you go to the gym, do light workout. But you don't have to start right where you left off, because that isn't reasonable. It's not. So once you find out, like, I'm out in the field for a while, it usually takes me about 2 days for me to really feel good and healthy and move. Okay, cool. You've established that. Then from that point, we can train harder, do these sort of things. Sometimes you're out there longer. It takes a little bit longer. Sometimes a little bit shorter, depending on what it is. And that's what you're trying to learn by being out in the field. You're out in the field. What does it take when you get back to bring you back to 100%? That's the real challenge, and that's what real soldiering is. And so that should be your goal, okay? So don't let it bug you. Like, oh my God, because I was like that for a long time. It's like, I got to get my workout in. Wait. Instead of worrying about that nonsense when I got out in the field, it's just like, wait, what? I got to focus on this. This is my practice. This is the time for me to really focus on the job. Don't overlook the job. When you get back, refuel, rehydrate, repair, rest, recovery. So what? You can do it again and do it again and do it again and do it again. If you do that over time, you will have found all sorts of solutions for these grievances, and then you will find that most of them aren't a grievance. And what you end up doing too is you teach the younger soldiers, sailors, and Marines underneath of you that you're there to be a warrior. When you come off the field, you take care of yourself, and then they'll see you go back in the field ready. How'd you do that? You become a good mentor. So take that in mind, and you're gonna get a whole lot more out of your military career if you treat yourself the way you need to be treated.